have to live with them. Good luck. Miss Gabbard's performance will be hard to track because as DNI, she will be, by necessity, operate largely in secret. She has an isolationist streak and a soft spot for Vladimir Putin's Russia. It's hard to believe Robert F. Kennedy Jr. will run Health and Human Services, given his left-wing views. Now the country will get an HHS chief who won't say if the MMR vaccine causes autism, despite mountains of evidence that it does not. Promising disruption is easy. The test of a cabinet is whether it delivers results. Our guest for first one to muster out is RFK Jr. So a lot of controversy over these cabinet picks. Joining us now, Democratic Senator Richard Blumenthal of Connecticut. He's a member of the Homeland Security, Armed Services, and Judiciary Committees. So we're watching what's happening on Capitol Hill today. Which cabinet pick are you most concerned about, Senator?
I think I'm most concerned about Tulsi Gabbard, but it's really a pretty close second in Robert Kennedy Jr. They both failed to recognize the facts, and Robert Kennedy Jr. poses a real threat to our public health, Tulsi Gabbard to our national security. We're voting today on a nominee for FBI Director, Patel, who wants to turn the FBI apparently into a sycophantic goon squad rather than the independent, impartial, objective law enforcement agency it ought to be. He has an enemies list, which he calls government gangsters, and he's on a manhunt for them. And so we're all at risk as a result of this kind of skewed, distorted approach to law enforcement. And the recent revelations, shunned by my Republican colleagues, show that he is covertly and personally directing, or involved in directing, the mass purge of FBI leadership and professional civil servants. He testified in response to my questions that there would never be retribution, that there would never be these kinds of political firings. And what is happening now, according to these whistleblowers, they're not secondhand hearsay, as Senator Grassley has said. They are credible whistleblowers who are coming to us with what they have heard.
So, Senator, I'm curious. I know these are very divisive times, but these cabinet picks, a lot of them have some very legitimate questions, and they have said things that are, I think, very clearly concerning and in some cases disturbing. Is there any interaction with your Republican counterparts? And if so, what do they say when you ask about these things?
Mitch McConnell breaking yesterday with his Republican colleagues, telling the truth to power, indicates that maybe the Trump cult, the intimidation and threats can be broken. Our tools are limited. We're in the minority. They control, obviously, both houses of Congress and the White House, and indirectly the United States Supreme Court. But we're taking the fight to Republicans in the halls of Congress, in rallies. We're going to have a rally today at the Veterans Administration, which I'm leading as the ranking member on the Veterans Affairs Committee. We are having town halls, as I did just last Saturday in our state. So we're using the public pressure that can be effective, as we saw with the funding freeze, where that kind of pressure showing the impacts on community health centers and Head Start and Medicare and Medicaid grants actually moved Republicans and led to the administration backing off. So I think there is hope, but I'm very clear-eyed that our tools are limited, and we need to really galvanize a citizens movement here that will bring pressure to bear on Republican colleagues.
Senator Blumenthal, good morning. Let's zero in on the Kash Patel nomination, please. There's obviously been a lot of upheaval at the FBI, at the Department of Justice, some firings of the staffers who were involved in the cases surrounding Donald Trump. And now, as you know, also a call to identify any agent who had anything to do with a January 6th case. Mr. Patel has denied involvement. There has been some reporting to suggest otherwise. What are your views on this? What are some questions that he needs to answer?
Well, he has answered them, arguably incorrectly, maybe even falsely. And I think we need another hearing with Kash Patel to give him the chance to answer these allegations, because they are really completely disqualifying. The fact that he has been involved reportedly in covertly directing a purge within the FBI when he said there would not be one. He has glorified the January 6th rioters, calling them political prisoners and aiding them. He has that enemies list. He calls it government gangsters. It's deeply frightening to have a potential director of this investigative agency using it and weaponizing it for political purposes, when that agency is also responsible for investigating terrorism, drug cartels, real threats to our national security and our personal safety. He's unqualified and unprepared. He lacks the character and competence to do this job and to have the credibility and trust of the American people. So there are a lot of questions that he still has to answer, but my Republican colleagues are apparently going to proceed with the record as it is now, even though he actually refused to tell us what he testified the grand jury after he took the Fifth Amendment and was granted immunity. We still lack the facts. And I'm deeply regretful that we're going to apparently confirm, he's on track to be confirmed, a man who has these really disqualifying factors.
Senator, the question in all of
54 past the hour. Back to our breaking news from Washington. Just moments ago, the Senate voted to confirm Robert F. Kennedy Jr. to be Health and Human Services Secretary, and the Senate Judiciary Committee has just voted to send Kash Patel's nomination to be FBI Director to the Senate floor. With us now is California Democratic Senator Alex Padilla, who sits on the Judiciary Committee and has been moving back and forth at breakneck speeds throughout the day. I really appreciate you coming right in and speaking with her, Senator. I appreciate that. I know you just voted against Kash Patel. Why?
Of course, Jose. Happy to go from committee to the floor and to come here to you. Why did I vote against Kash Patel? I mean, he is completely unfit for this role. You've been talking earlier about the lack of independence now of the Department of Justice overall, the FBI especially. It cannot be under the White House's thumb. That's not how we achieve justice in the United States of America. But if you look at President Trump's picks, from Attorney General Bondi, his selections for Deputy Attorney General, FBI Director Patel, these are people who are going to be far from independent. They claim to want to depoliticize the FBI when their history, their track record shows that they're going to be doing the exact opposite, and they already are. From rounding up the names of people involved in January 6th investigations, the investigations into President Trump, the classified document handling case, or anything else, the U.S. attorneys that are being dismissed, and more. It is a worrisome days at the FBI, and Kash Patel does the opposite of give us confidence that he's ready for the job.
And so I know you also voted against Robert F. Kennedy Jr. to be Health and Human Services Secretary. You also called him unfit and unprepared. What are, Senator, the factors that you consider when you decide whether a nominee is fit and prepared?
Look, it's especially for health and human services, right? We've been through a health pandemic where we have the bird flu that's just recently been transmitted now to humans. We need somebody at the helm of HHS that is not a conspiracy theorist. That's what RFK Jr. Has become. We need someone who is not going to peddle in misinformation and try to profit on fear and misinformation. That's what RFK has done. We need someone who supports science and data, the safety of vaccines. And by the way, as we're entering this budget season, someone who's going to stand up to defend Medicare and Medicaid. RFK Jr. in the confirmation hearing made it abundant and clear he doesn't understand either. So it is worrisome, but I'm not just calling on the president to try to see the errors of his ways. I'm calling on Senate Republicans to stand up and do what's right. Protect your own constituents if it means standing up to Trump.
And, Senator, that seems that other than Mitch McConnell, because I'm just thinking of these issues, for example, the RFK Jr. Vote, Mitch McConnell was the only senator in this case to vote against him. Tulsi Gabbard, he's the only one that voted against her. And so it seems as though, and Mitch McConnell doesn't have a re-election issue, right? I mean, he's pretty much not, his career as in the Senate is done after this term. How do you describe the political atmosphere that you and your colleagues are living in?
Yeah, look, I'm not going to lie and say that it's not frustrating, because it is. We've seen the threats, we've seen the dangers, we've seen the attacks coming out in these early days of the session of Congress and the second Trump administration. But look, for those of us involved in public service, we know the job's important, and it's especially important in times like these.
So, folks, what we're seeing here is that Trump confirmation hearings are continuing. And even the ones that end in quote-unquote victory for Trump are still disasters. One of the Democrats, I think it was Jasmine Crockett. I know this is a common saying, apparently, but we don't have it up here in Canada as much. But God, it's perfect. When she said that time and time again, Republicans are like the dog that caught the car. Like the dog is chasing the car like it's a Frisbee, and they catch the car, but of course the car runs the dog over. The dog's not catching anything. It's just running into doom. And the GOP keeps doing that. As noted there even by the Wall Street Journal, which is a right-wing source, but is sometimes critical of Trump, saying, good luck, Mr. Trump, you're gonna friggin' need it. Because you picked not only unqualified people, but people who are unqualified and often loud about it. Again, he could have picked an unnamed qualified crony, but no, he had to pick somebody like RFK Jr., who is world famous for being a nut job. He picked Tulsi Gabbard and Kash Patel, world famous for being nut jobs. He could have found a nut job on the street if he wanted one. Or an unqualified non-nut job, just a guy or gal in a suit to throw up there. And people would have probably not paid a lot of attention. But no, he set himself up for this. The similar thing, it's kind of like how the GOP, when they got what they wanted with Dobbs, with Roe v. Wade. And then Democrats were like, you guys are the dog that caught the car. These hearings, these court hearings, these confirmation hearings, these rulings, they end in disaster for you because you could have done this so much better. You could have done this evil in the shadows as evil used to be done. But now it's just mask off clown BSery.